Hello, it's Annie again, and today I'd like to talk about manners and courtesy. Those two words are very much related to each other, and for some reason, we don't think to talk to our children about courtesy. We talk to them about manners a lot, but think of it like this: we want to encourage our children to impress people because babies impress, they don't figure out how, but we want to teach them to impress because that's how we are successful or not successful in life. In life, we have to sort of put our best foot forward, or if we want to achieve or want something or have a goal, we want to be impressive, and manners will go a long way. Courtesy is a good thing too because when you're courteous, people notice that. It's very much noticed. For instance, with children, uh, if they learn to say please and thank you, or learn to give accommodations. Accommodations, fine. Things like, oh, you look well today. I really appreciate what you did for me. It was nice of you to invite us over. Oh, that was a good meal. I especially like the vegetables, and from a child, a young person, to say they especially like vegetables, that's not really putting it on too thick because you expect them to say they like dessert or sweets like that. But when they say vegetables, that would be very impressive. Um, Sometimes I remember I had three children that I took care of for a couple weeks, and my husband laughs about that today. This is over 30 years ago, and he said they would always say things to me like, "Oh, I really like that. I must have the recipe." Well, at the time, the oldest child was like about 6, and I doubt if they could even cook, but they would say things to me like, I must have that recipe. That was so good. And, I took care of those kids for a couple weeks, and I remember today the good time we had because they had such good manners. And we must remember, good manners are always in style. It's always in style to have good manners. And we must teach our children that that's what people look for. Uh, it doesn't hurt to say yes, Miss So and so, or yes, Mr. So and so. Some of us have a problem saying ma'am, but you know what? Ma'am and sir are terms of endearment that we could use if we genuinely mean it. But if you don't want to say yes, ma'am, or yes, sir, you could say yes, Mr. So and so, or yes, Mrs. So and so. And always teach your children to put a handle on an adult's name. I know I went through this with one of my children. I remember one of them came to me and said, "Mommy, now that we're grown, what do you want us to call you?" I said, "Do you realize that the years between us today was the same number the day you were born?" I said, "Well, what do you think you should call me?" I said, "But, I'm not going to, I would never tell my child that, oh, it's okay now, you can call me Annie." No, I don't do that. But I told him, I said, "You think about it. What do you think I deserve to be called?" And sometimes, you have to shock kids back to reality. And that's what we have to be ready to do. We can't want to be a buddy or friend so bad to our children that we help them lose respect. Sometimes we help them to lose respect because we settle for less. As a parent, if we know we've done the best we can, even if you haven't done good, if you've done the best, and you've done the best you can, you should expect your child to appreciate it. Doesn't matter how old that child gets or how old you are. Also, speaking of accommodations, uh, there's always something that you can give person praise for. Commendations are always in order. Like, I guess I learned this from being a salesperson. When you approach a person or a home or wherever, if you are really paying attention, you could think of something to praise that person for. If it's a person's house, you say, "Oh, that's a pretty flower there." It might be one flower in the yard that's different, and the yard might be full of weeds, but that one rose among all the weeds might stand out. Or when you walk into a home, you might notice that picture on the wall. Or you might notice a baby, and the baby might be a pretty baby. Or you might notice a sweater that the householder might be making, but you want to always give credit. Uh, you might want to say, that color looks well on you. Now, we don't want to lie. We don't want to run around throwing praises out. No, let's not throw too many out, even if they're all true. We don't want to just throw a lot out, but we want to be honest about what we say. Another thing I'd like to mention, and I remember when I was still working, I always did this with my children. Children need to be able to interact with older people. And we can show children how to interact by taking our time. Spend time with older people. Take your children along. Do deeds for older people. We should always find something that we can do for others and not expect to be paid for it. Don't allow, if there's an older person that you've done a kind deed for and that person really needed that deed, don't let them cheapen your good deed by paying you for it. What you do is you say, "No, I want to do this," and be willing to. Too many times I've seen people say, "Oh, I'm just bored. I'm so frustrated. I don't have anything to do." Well, you know what? Frustration stems from the lack of things to do, the lack of creative things to do. And there's so much you can do. Just do it. When I find people who always, "Why are you doing that?" "Oh, girl, you stay busy." Yes, I do. I stay busy, and I have this saying for some of my friends. I'll tell them, maybe you should go to Snooks. They have a sale on business today, so you can have your own business. We need to try not to be busybodies, One thing we can do too is let's try to prepare a meal for someone or take a person out to eat. And you don't have to spend that much money. Just take them out and spend time with them just for socializing. Or invite them over, maybe for cookies or for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. And when you do find yourself doing something kind for a person, don't let them pay you. Don't let them say, "Well, I'll take you out to eat next week." No, that's not a good idea. That's trading. That's trading or bartering. No, if I take you out today, I don't want you to take me out next week. You find somebody to share your joy with. Don't kill my joy. My joy is to take you out. I hope you appreciate it. I want to spend time with you. And if you want to prepare a meal for somebody or pay for a meal for somebody, you find somebody on your own to do something for. And that way, I think things will go well for both of us. I like sharing, and I think that we especially should teach our children to share, because sharing is a good thing, and we can never share enough. Even if we share a story or if we share a meal. And when we share stories, let's remember now, lies can be stories. But you can't take a lie and think that, well, he just told a story. No, a lie is a lie. If a person told a lie, if a child told a lie, it's a lie. It's okay to tell lies, to make up stories, because that's what stories are made up of, truth and lies. And our best storytellers lie. But we don't lie and hurt others and pass it off as just a joke. It's never funny to cause problems for others or lie on others just to benefit us. So let's teach our children let's try to be truthful. Let's try to be honest. And that way we can live together in harmony. And most of us, we call ourselves Christians anyway. And if we think about it, if we love and show love, we're really doing what the Bible says to do, because God is love. And a loving person shines. A loving person shines. It doesn't matter if that person is old, young, or not too good looking, or maybe shabby, but love conquers. And let's all try to spread some love, because that's what we need to do. We need to teach our children to be kind, teach them to be loving, and especially take care of older people and animals, and do for people who need. It does you no good to do for a person that can afford even more than you can. You can't really impress by doing for people who have the means already. So let's try to remember, if we want to be helpful, let's help where help is needed. But let's always share. We could share a good word. We could share the time of day. We could share a smile. Everybody has a smile, a gesture. And let's be forgiving. Let's not always be quick to find a mistake that somebody made. Let it go. If we let those mistakes go, or even if a person might have done you wrong, they might have not intended to. There are people in this world that have been holding on to grudges for years, and they can't even remember what the problem is. So you don't want to be identified by some bad deed or something that somebody said to you or did to you. And when it comes down to giving gifts too with children, help your children to make things. If you see a need that somebody has, there's so much we can make. We can make little trash cans. We can make little boxes out of discards. We can find beautiful paper to cover things. And let's just take something nice to old Miss So-and-so, because she just might appreciate it. And let's always remember to check on the older ones and teach our children to say please and thank you, and how are you today, and what can I do for you, or let me do this. I came to help you. Don't ask, may I help you, but just pitch in and help.